So the Blackboard webpage takes you to a homepage like this. And right here has the announcements. And every week I'll be sending out an announcement regarding what we're going to be doing that week. And if anything pops up during the week that I need to get a hold of you guys, these announcements are going to be my way of reaching out to you. So just watch your student emails, watch the Blackboard page, and make sure you pay attention to these announcements. They're the best and easiest way for me to contact all of you. Let's enter student mode so I can show you guys exactly what you see. So over here on the left-hand side, there's a couple of different pages you guys can open. The syllabus takes you to a copy of the syllabus, and you can just click here and it'll download a PDF. Email my instructor is particularly useful for you guys, and it's not going to let me do this in student preview mode, but if you click that, it should open up a link to just send me and draft an email right in Blackboard, so you don't have to open up your email. You can do it right here. So that'll send me an email directly. But the important thing to look at here is the experiment modules. And right now there's just one, Introduction to Lab. There will be more here as we go throughout the weeks. And if you click on this, it just takes you to what we're doing that week. And this includes a overview of the sort of lab, a pre-lab observation. So each week you guys will have a pre-lab that I want you guys to do before the actual Zoom session. In this case, I just want you guys to have read the syllabus and got to know Blackboard. If you guys didn't do this yet, that's perfectly fine. I'm going to be going over a lot of this stuff in the Zoom session. And then learn, and then be aware of the applications that you guys need and the skills you'll have to know for this course. So everything in this course will be submitted as PDFs. PDFs just work really nicely in Blackboard and help my grading a ton, as opposed to submitting like Word documents or pictures. So I want everything as a PDF, and if you guys don't know how to convert PDFs, just contact me and I'll help walk you through it. So I want PDFs though, is the moral of that story. I have Zoom sessions. Now, I'm teaching 4 sections of this particular lab. And these are the links for each of the 4 sections for the given times. If you guys cannot make a Zoom session, I recommend trying to make a later one. But I want you guys to remain consistent throughout the semester. So if you guys need to switch to a different section, let me know, and we'll make that work. But these are the 4 times that you have. The reason why I want you guys to remain consistent is because we will be working in lab groups, and you'll have a group of 4, and I want you guys to have the same group of 4 throughout the entire semester. So if you guys want to switch to like the Friday at noon lab, you can do that. You just have to let me know ahead of time, and we'll make that switch for you. After the Zoom sessions, I'll be posting recorded videos of each of the Zoom sessions that I do. So this session right now is being recorded, and I'll post the recording of it after you guys leave. Probably a couple of hours after you leave is when I'm going to try and get it done. And then at the very end of it, you'll have some sort of assignment to submit. So in this case, it's a really easy assignment. You're just submitting a PDF document that contains your name, your major, and your date, and the date. And the reason why I'm having you do this is just to check that all of you guys are able to make a PDF and submit it on Blackboard. And this is going to kind of look like how each of your weeks are going to go. There's going to be a new thing in the experiments modules for you guys to take a look at. And they're all going to follow the same sort of format. All right, any questions about that? Doesn't sound like anyone has any questions. Again, if you do, it's perfectly fine. Just chime in. Going through the syllabus really briefly. I'm going to open up the syllabus here. You have my name and my email right here. And I'll be posting Zoom links each week for you to be able to access the synchronous sessions. And I'm doing student support hours This is time for you guys to contact me about any questions, comments, or concerns that you have. And I'm doing them by appointment this semester. So just email me, let me know, hey, I want to meet up with you. Can we jump on Zoom at this time? And I'll let you know, yeah, we can do that, or I'll suggest a different time that works better for me. This is just your guys' opportunity to talk with me one-on-one in a Zoom session. Textbook and resources, the only thing you're going to need is the lab manual materials that I'm going to be posting on Blackboard weekly. So every week I'll be posting some amount of materials that you guys need, and everything that is in that regards will be available to you guys on Blackboard. Grading is based off of participation, which is 10% of your grade. And I'll get onto how I grade participation a little bit later on. Lab notebook is going to be a document that you guys keep throughout the semester, and every week you're going to be turning in a PDF of your lab notebook, and this is going to be comprised of the half of your grade, 50% of your grade. And lab assignments are going to be 30% of your grade, and these are going to be the last part of the labs. And at the very end of the semester, you're going to have a final presentation that's worth 10% of your grade. So the final presentation is just going to be like a group recorded video of you guys presenting on some original project that you guys are going to go through. Here's the grading scale for what percentages correspond to what grades. So this is something you might want to keep in mind. University policies, this is something that we all include in all of our syllabi, and you guys are probably pretty familiar with it. An important thing about this lab is that if you guys miss more than three or more labs, so if you guys miss 3 labs, you will be given an F in the course. So attendance and completion of these labs is an important aspect of your part of your grade. So you'll automatically be failed if you guys miss 3 or more weeks. Here's a weekly outline of what we're going to be going through. Week 1 is just an introduction, and that's what we're doing here. Week 2, we're going to be doing something called Zooniverse, and I'll get into a little bit about that in a moment. And this is just a tentative schedule, meaning that I may change things a little bit here and there depending on how the weeks are going. But this is to give you a rough outline of what we're going to be going through. So experimentation, this is how I'm going to grade your participation. Each week, I want you guys to take a role in your group. So there are 4 roles for your groups of 4. You're going to have a leader, which is going to be the person that is responsible for making sure everyone does their job and everyone contributes. You're going to have a recorder who's going to be taking the detailed lab notebook that you guys are going to end up turning in. A timekeeper, making sure that everything is on track and you guys meet the deadlines, the due dates. And a helper is just someone that helps out other people's roles as needed. So if the recorder needs someone to help a little bit on their lab notebook, or the timekeeper needs someone to reassure them that you're going to meet deadlines or whatever, the helper is the person that does that. And all 4 people are responsible for actually working on the lab. So we want you guys to have these 4 roles in mind. And if you guys are in a group of 3, because there might not be an evenly divisible by 4 number of students in this class, then you're going to get rid of the helper and you're going to stick with these 3 main roles. You guys are going to indicate who had what roles each week. And depending on that, your participation score will change. If you guys don't meet the deadline, then a timekeeper might see a reduction in their participation scores. If the lab notebook isn't detailed enough, then the recorder will see a deduction in participation points. Or if the group is just like a mess and nothing really went right, then the leader might see a reduction in their points. You guys are expected to take on these roles at various points throughout the semester, and each week I want you guys to switch them up. So if you're the leader the first week, I want you to try out being the timekeeper the second week, and so on and so forth. Does that make sense? Are there any questions, comments, concerns, thoughts? All right. Lab notebooks, you guys are going to use Google Docs for your lab notebooks, and I want you guys to link the Google Doc to me so that I can view your lab notebook as you progress throughout the weeks, and I can see how you guys are going. I'll get into Google Docs in a minute, but just for right now, I want you guys to know that you're going to use Google Docs for your lab notebook. And someone chatted. So we have pre-labs and labs to turn in for this class. Your pre-labs will be generally something that's included in your lab notebook. So most of your work is going to be in your lab notebook. And every week when I have you guys turn something in, I'll be very specific about what I want you guys to turn in. And usually it's just going to be a PDF copy of your lab notebook. So I'll be specific about what you guys need to turn in. And I'll show you in a little bit later on for next week's lab what I want you guys to turn in. Okay, so lab notebooks. So even though you guys are turning in a PDF copy of this, I still want to have a Google Docs link to your lab notebook. Okay. So in your lab notebooks, you should have full and complete lab notes. You guys should have your data that's represented in a visually clear and easy to comprehend way. And you guys might have some sort of conclusion statement that you need to write. I'll go over lab notebooks in a little bit more detail in a second. Final presentation is going to be based off of a project that you guys do. And as your presentation, you guys can just upload a video to YouTube that's 5 or 10 minutes long, where each of your group members talks about a portion of your experiment in some way. So it's just going to be a video for you guys to submit. If you guys want to submit your presentation in a different way, if you guys want to use a different format, if you guys just want to walk me through it on Zoom, we can make that work. But the end goal is to have you guys present some sort of experimental process. And I'll be posting grading rubrics on Blackboard as they're needed. And that's pretty much the syllabus. Is there any questions or comments? Do you guys have any thoughts before I move on? Okay. If not, I'm going to move on to showing you guys a little bit about Google Sheets and Google Docs. So I want you guys to be using these, and as students at CSUSB, oh, got a chat. No, there aren't going to be any tests or quizzes or anything like that. Okay, so as a student at CSUSB, your student email is linked to a Google account, so you guys all have access to a Google account. If you guys want to use a personal account, that's up to you. But I do recommend you use your student account for all student-related work. So Google Docs, when you open it up, it looks like this. I'm not sure how many of you guys have used it, but for Google Docs, you're going to open up and you're going to just create a blank document. And this document is going to be your lab manual. So for example, I'm just going to title this lab manual. And once you have the document, you're going to share this between each of your group members. And this one document will be edited by everyone for your lab manual. So you have this one document for your lab manual, and each week you're going to start off your experiment by sectioning off your Google Docs. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar with this, there's this formatting tool up here that allows you to select what kind of text you're writing. So let's say I'm writing a heading 1, and this is for experiment 1. Data tools. So experiment 1 is going to be all about data tools. So I'm just going to go ahead and write that, press enter. And the reason why it's convenient to put it in these headings and these formatting tools is because it opens up on the side a table of contents that makes it easy to go between different experiments. So later on, if I have experiment 2 on the same document, which I want you guys to maintain the same document for all of your experiments, you can experiment 2. You can enter in the second experiment as a heading, and it'll allow you to just jump between experiments and section them off pretty nicely. For each experiment, there we go. You might have several subheadings you want to use. So let's say you want to list the equipment that was used or software used, and if I can spell correctly. You can put that as your second heading, and then you can have methods as your third. And you can just go on from there, and it'll automatically update your table of contents as you go through this. So I strongly recommend using these style formattings to section off each of your parts of your lab notebook. Are there any questions about this?
So the lab manual is used throughout the semester by groups, but the lab notebook is used by individually. And then do we do like the same formatting with our lab notebooks?
No, so your lab notebook is going to be a group document. So everyone shares this same lab notebook. Sorry, I meant to put notebook here. Manual. It might have been the confusion. So your lab notebook is going to be a document that's for your entire lab group. So all 4 or 3 of you guys are going to have the same lab notebook. The lab manual is just going to be the general information that are on your Blackboard. I'm converting the lab manual to being more user-friendly on Blackboard. I hope it works out for you guys the way I'm planning on doing it. But I think it's a decent way to put the lab manual. Lab notebook is just this Google Docs. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. So for experiment 1, you're going to have a couple of different group members. So we're going to have member 1, and we're going to say that they're the leader. Member 2 is the recorder, and the recorder is responsible for making sure the lab notebook for that week is well written and detailed. Member 3 is going to be the timekeeper. And member 4, if you have a member 4, is going to be the helper. All right, so are there any questions about this? And I'll be specific about what I want in your lab notebook each week as we get to those parts of the lab. This week there is no lab notebook to keep because it's just an introduction to the course. So don't worry about if you're confused on what you need to include here or not. I'll be more specific about it as we go throughout the semester. Are there any questions about Google Docs in general or about the lab notebook? All right. If not, I want to show you guys. Oh, yep, someone in chat. So lab notebook is group, yes. Assignments are going to be individual assignments, yeah. So the difference between your lab notebook and your lab assignments is one is going to be an individual assignment for you to do, and the other one is a group document that you're going to turn in each week. I promise you it'll be a lot less confusing once we actually start getting into this stuff, so don't worry too much about it. Just be sure you're comfortable with Google Docs at this point. So Google Sheets, it's a nice spreadsheet tool, and we want you guys to use Google Sheets for all of your graphing needs this semester because doing graphs by hand is a pain in the butt, and it works really nicely with Google Docs. So let's say, for example, I was doing an experiment and I was measuring how fast something went over a specific distance. So I'm measuring what am I going to measure? I'm going to measure time and I'm going to measure distance. I'm going to specify units here. I don't know how far you guys have gotten in lecture at this point, but we always want to specify what kind of unit you're using, such as if we're using meters, we're just going to put an M there. And if we're using time, we're probably measuring in seconds there. And let's say I'm going to mark off every meter. And I'm just doing this to show you guys data. It's not important what all of this means exactly. But let's say I have distances marked off in meters. I'm going to measure how long it takes something to travel that first meter, second meter, third meter. I'm just going to put random times here. Say 1. So let's say I have these random times, right? So creating a spreadsheet is useful because it allows us to pretty easily create graphs. And where is it? It's insert chart. And it'll automatically make a chart for us. It assumes we want a line chart, but if we wanted something different, we can change it to a scatter plot or whatever kind of chart we want. So whenever you're making a graph, you want to have a title and you want to have your axes labeled. And sometimes you want a trend line, and we'll get into trend lines in a future lab. But you guys are going to have to make charts to show your data. Making charts helps us visualize our data in an easier way, and it's all about what the first lab we're going to do next week is about. So once we have our chart, the reason why it's nice to use Google Sheets is because we can just copy this chart. I'm going to press, I'm just going to press Control-C here to copy the chart. We can go over here and we can just paste it in here, and we can click Link to Spreadsheet. And we have a nice little chart in our lab notebook, and I'm going to want your charts and your data visualizations in the lab notebook. So why did I say it plays nicely with Google Sheets and Google Docs? Well, if we go back and we say, oh, I messed up this data point. It wasn't actually 1 second, it was 0.95 seconds. So it changes this data point just a little bit. And we can go over here and we can just update our spreadsheet, and it updates that data point automatically. So we don't have to copy and paste a whole new chart. We just need to update our charts as we go through and update our spreadsheet. So it plays nicely with one another. And you can do the same thing with tables. We can just copy and paste this data. So select it all, press Control-C, come over here, Control-V, and we link it to the spreadsheet again. And we have our nice chart, and as we change things in the spreadsheet, we can update the lab notebook, and it'll automatically correlate and make sure everything's the same. So that's why I'm encouraging you guys to use Google Sheets instead of Excel for this semester. Okay, I'll do that again. So I was asked to redo this. So when you're copy and pasting things, I'm just going to select the thing I want to copy. And I'm using the keyboard shortcuts here because I'm not seeing copy come up when I right click. So I'm just pressing Control-C to copy. So if I copy that with Control-C and come over here and paste it, it opens up this, this dialog box. And you have the option to link to spreadsheet or paste unlinked. If you link to spreadsheet, you're able to change things in the spreadsheet, and it'll change in the lab manual. If you post unlinked, it'll be a static object that you can't change in the spreadsheet. So I always recommend linking to spreadsheet just to make things a little bit easier. And if you wanted to do a data table, you just left click and drag over all of the data. So you just select all of it. And here it is giving me the option to copy, and you just come over here and paste it. So paste it and link to spreadsheet again. You're very welcome. Okay, so that's Google Sheets and Google Docs. For this first week, you are going to be required to use Google Sheets, and that's because there's a certain add-on on Google Sheets that we'll be using called ZooTools. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up a new window, and I'm going to go with ZooTools for Google Sheets. I'm just going to Google this, and it'll take me to the Google Marketplace here. And you get to this point and you can install this. I already have it installed on my Google Sheets, but you can install it and add it to your Google Sheets. And once you do that, it'll be under add-ons, ZooTools for Google Sheets. And this just helps us with certain types of graphing. And we'll be playing around with that in the first week. So part of your pre-lab activity is making sure that you guys have that ZooTools installed on your spreadsheets before you come to class. Any questions, thoughts, comments? Scale from 1 to 10, how overwhelming does this seem at this point?
3.
3? All right, well, that's good. All right. There's one other thing I wanted to show you guys about spreadsheets, and this is something that you guys may or may not be familiar with, but it's this idea of adding formulas to it. So if we wanted to say multiply our time and distance together, we can just press the equal sign and it'll automatically take us to adding in a formula. And we can click the first one. So we want to multiply time. So that times that. And we have 0.5 times 1 is going to give us 0.5. So it's probably a little bit uninteresting. But you guys can add in formulas. And once you do that, you can drag it down and it'll automatically multiply each of these to give you your final result. So this would be time times distance. We'll give you all of that. So formulas are a really useful thing and it'll help you out in this first lab that we're going to be doing. Part of it is using those formulas. All right. So that's Google Sheets, that's Google Docs. I went over the Blackboard website. The last thing I want to go over before you guys can leave is groups. Do you guys want me to randomly assign your groups, or do you guys have friends in the class that you know is taking it that you want to be a part of their group? How are we going to do groups?
I don't have any friends, so if you could pick.
All right. That's fine by me. I can randomly. All right, it sounds like everyone doesn't know really anyone else in the class, and that'll change. When we start putting you guys in groups, you guys will quickly make friends with your group mates. So I will randomly assign your groups, and next Friday you will have a group of 4 or 3 for your guys' lab groups. Sound good?
Yes.
Awesome. All right, so that's it for this Zoom meeting. Nice 30-minute morning for you guys. If you guys have any questions or comments, I'll be sticking around until the last person leaves. If you guys are uncomfortable with using PDFs, I can more than happily go over that. The only thing due this week is going to be in the introduction to the lab part of experimental modules. Way down here, test submitting an assignment, you click on it, and all you're doing is submitting a PDF document that has your name, your major, and the date. Yeah, I'm gonna email you guys once I have your groups together, and you guys will have a little group in Blackboard for you guys to utilize the different Blackboard tools for groups. But I'll send you guys an email for each of your groups. Yeah. And I'll probably be doing that on Friday. And if you guys want to switch to a different section, you guys have to let me know before, I'm going to say before Friday, so that way I can make your groups. All right. If you guys don't have any more questions, you are more than welcome to log out. If you guys want to stick around and ask me anything else, you're more than welcome to. If you guys want to stick around and just complain that we're online a little bit more, you're welcome to do that as well.
Can you show how you did the formula on the data table again?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we start a formula, we're going to start by putting an equal sign. And that just lets the spreadsheet know that we're going to start making a formula. And once we have that, we have to decide on what our formula is going to be. So let's say I want to, instead of multiplying, let's say I want to divide this first A column by the second B column. I'm just going to do A2. I'm going to put slash for a division. And then we're going to divide by B2. And that gives us 0.5 divided by 1 is 0.5. So it shows you the formula up here. And if you want to change it, you can do that a few ways. You can backspace and decide, okay, instead of that, I want it to actually do column B. You can edit it down here or up here. It does the same exact thing. So once you have that, you can click right here in the bottom right. There's a little square that you can click on, and you can drag down. And once you drag down, it'll automatically do the other rows. So you have A3 divided by D3, A4, and then A5 and A6.
Do you always have to skip like a blank column before you do a formula?
I did that just for like my own kind of organization thing, but no, you can do it right here. So if I wanted to do a formula here, instead let's do A2 divided by B2, or sorry, A divided by B, so column A divided by column B. I could say it's equal to here divided by here. And it'll automatically do that and fill out.
Okay,
So
thank you.
You don't have to skip columns. I was just doing that for my organizational sake. Yeah, the first assignment is just creating a PDF, and I want you guys to do that so that you guys are used to submitting assignments in Blackboard as PDFs. It's just a way so that I know everyone knows how to do it, and if someone struggles, they're struggling on this easier assignment rather than a more important assignment later on the road.
So we'll be using mainly Google Docs for our group notebook and everything.
Yeah, I want you guys to use Google Docs for your notebook because that
Okay.
allows everyone in your group to edit the same document for your notebook. And it allows you guys to send me a link to your notebook so I can see you guys as you progress through the week.
Okay. Sorry. So if we decide to submit this onto Blackboard, the Google Docs itself, is it considered its own PDF, or do we have to save this onto a different PDF?
So you'll need to save this as a PDF. So you can do that a couple of different ways. You can export it as a PDF,
Oh,
or for most computers, I know Windows and Mac, you can do this. You can print it, and then you can just print to PDF, and you can just select what pages you want. So let's say I want only pages 1 and 2. It'll create a PDF of just page 1 and page 2.
oh, okay. So basically, it's not like we're going to be using Microsoft Word a lot. It's mainly just going to be Google Docs. Is just make sure you change it to PDF format so that it can be submitted in.
Yeah. Yeah, I want you guys to stick with this. It's just a more easily accessible tool for a group document like this.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, can you go back to the spreadsheet?
Sure thing.
I don't understand like the AB that you did. What is it doing exactly? Like how did it divide from, or how did it go from 0.5 to 0.375?
So what I'm doing here is I'm just taking what number is in the first column and dividing it by the second column. So 0.5 divided by 1 gives you 0.5. 0.5 divided by 2 gives you 0.35.
I thought it was like by itself. Okay, thank you.
No. So it's just, I just set it up so the formula just takes what numbers here, divides it by here to give you that row.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. And I think as you guys practice with this stuff, it'll become more obvious what's going on. These are really useful skills to have, especially in a scientific setting. So as you guys practice, it'll become more and more intuitive and you guys understand what's going on. Any other questions, comments, concerns?
I'm trying to do it like myself to practice, and for some reason I'm not getting it right.
All right. So do you have like,
I have the spreadsheet on with me and I wrote like the same numbers.
okay, so
and
you
I'm
wrote down
putting-
these same numbers?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So were you able to get this 0.5? Let's just try this first column. So I'm going to delete all this other stuff. So we're just going to do the first column divided by the second column. All right.
Yeah.
So you do is you press the equal sign, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then type, then click on this A2 cell, and then slash for division, and then B2, right?
Oh, you have to click it. Okay. Makes so much sense.
And then once you got that first cell, you can click that little square in the bottom right and drag it down, and it'll calculate out the rest of these divisions.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Of course.